Good morning to all of you joining us on today's call. We are here with driver HAILIE DEEGAN, driver of the #1 Monster Energy Ford F-150 in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, which heads to Sonoma Raceway for the first time since 1998. Going to be good to see those trucks out there at Sonoma, doubleheader with the Cup weekend. So HAILIE joining us here for the next 15-20 minutes. If you've got a question for HAILIE, raise your hand and we'll get to as many questions as we can. Let's get started here. Let's start with Claire B. Claire, why don't you get us started here?
Okay. Well, HAILIE, I know there's been this whole thing about you being aggressive and not taking it from people, but still being smart. Where are you on that right now? I mean, it's been so crazy in the truck series, and I've been watching you as we all have. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, it's really crazy in the truck series. I feel like there's a lot that happens during these races, a lot of chaos. And so I think that it's hard to avoid it. And I think that either you kind of just sometimes, if you don't stand up for yourself or do what they're doing to you back, like you'll get ran over quick, and it happens quick. And so I think that just from now on, and I feel like I'm trying to do more of it, is just racing people how they race me. Like someone like, for instance, Ross Chastain, who when he comes down to the truck series, he races aggressive, but he does it in a respectful way. We can race each other really, really hard, but in the most respectful way, where you're not just cleaning people out, but like he'll race me hard and I'll race him hard back, and it's super respectful. And so that's what I like. I really, really like that. And I think that there's some instances where like there's a few drivers in the truck series. It's like the moment they get to me, it's like they try and move you, and you're like, what did I do? But I think that it kind of depends on who you're racing around, and you kind of have to know who you're racing around. And I feel like that affects it a lot. Is everyone that you could be around at that moment, you have to decide like, okay, how are they going to race me? Are they going to race me with respect, or am I going to get by them and they're just going to try to wreck me the next corner?
So talk about last weekend and what happened, because you were kind of the center of a little bit going on there.
Which instance?
Well, you had a little retribution towards you.
Yeah. Are you talking about the 52? Yeah. I think that what initially all started it is it happened going into turn one, kind of on the front stretch going into turn one. I was kind of hanging on the 42's left rear and just trying to pull them back before we got to the entry of the corner. And I think when I did that, I was just so close to the 42 that the rear, because of the skew and everything, the rears are out just a little bit more. And I think it just barely got into freezing, but it was enough to kind of like upset my truck and kind of put me a little bit into the 42. So I didn't mean to do anything to the 42 at all or freezing, but it was just kind of like more so a racing situation. And like, honestly, I was like, I didn't even know really what happened, because it's not like you can see very well out the right side, right rear. So I think that it was just kind of a racing little mishap of racing each other hard. And I've been used up, I feel like, by quite a few people on the track. And I thought I was just racing hard. And like, I didn't think there was much wrong with it. Obviously, like if I would have wrecked them or anything like that, yeah, I would have felt bad and it wouldn't have been intentional. But I felt like we were racing pretty hard right there for the position we were in. And then he ended up driving me down track and stuff. And it was just a mess. But like, I think that's just kind of what comes with it. Like, I'm no stranger to being like flipped off on the track. Like it's become a pretty common thing. And I feel like it happens a lot during these races. I feel like it kind of goes back and forth. Like during the whole race with a lot of people, and not just me, but like seeing it from an outside perspective. And I think there's just a lot of chaos in the truck series. And I think it's kind of almost discipline and a discipline issue. It's like if you're building a building and it has no structure, it's going to fall apart. If you're raising a kid with no discipline, they're not going to behave in the best way possible. And I feel like the truck series, kind of what's lacking right now, is that discipline. And you got a lot of young kids in there trying to prove themselves, and then you have some of the older talent that's in there that has a lot of experience, and it's not meshing well. And I feel like there needs to be some structure to it in order to get it under control. Because I know, if at least for me, if I'm gonna go hit somebody, wreck somebody, whatever, if there is a black flag or some sort of discipline some like repercussion that I could face because of it, I'm probably gonna decide whether or not to do that, not just instantly do it because you know there's nothing bad gonna come of it after.
So it's kind of the wild, wild west, and you can do what you want and see if you get caught or not.
Yeah,
You
I
particularly.
mean, like, I haven't seen many people get penalized in the truck series for what happens on track, and just it's kind of disheartening because like you wish there were situations where you're like, man, like I didn't deserve that, and I just get put in these positions, and I know there's other drivers that probably feel the same way, but I feel like there needs to be more discipline and structure in the truck series.
And you're talking about NASCAR. NASCAR should maybe talk to the drivers in the drivers meeting, or should they in the rookie meeting? Or
like, hey, if we decide that it's a racing incident, all good. But if you see it's blatantly intentional or something like that, I don't know exactly how you did. I knew how I grew up. If you did that, you get put to the rear, and like that's enough discipline to make someone kind of decide and have to make a decision. Should I take that risk or should I not?
really appreciate it, Haley. Good luck this weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They have the penalty box, right? I mean, where you would come, they would park a vehicle, on pit road for a lap or two, whatever. But to your point, I mean that
I've yet to see a lot
Right.
of that in my years in the truck series.
All right, let's go on to Rob. Go ahead, Rob. You're up next.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks for joining us today, Haley.
No
Got a
problem.
couple questions. Yeah, got a couple of questions for you. Now, obviously, you've been a catalyst for women in motorsports at least since 2018 when you had that awesome season in ARCA. So, what is it like for you to inspire women who want to be race car drivers or just be in motorsports in general? First of all.
Yeah, for sure. I love seeing girls get into racing, especially from a young age. When you see little girls going around the racetrack or even coming up to me and saying, oh, I started racing because of you, or have their parents come up to me and say, I got my daughter into racing because she watched you race and it made her want to get into racing. I love that. I think that's some of like my best motivation comes from that, to show that like I'm inspiring younger girls to get into racing and show that it is possible. Yeah, it may be hard, but it's possible.
It's cool because my 2-year-old niece was at the race at Coda and she's like, there's a girl. I'm like, yes, that's Haley Deegan. And so she's really happy to see that. And my last question for you would be kind of not too much racing, but like if there is a song out there from any genre that best describes who you are as a person and even as a driver, what song would you choose and why?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I don't know. I wouldn't say there's just one song that I think it kind of depends what mood I'm in. Like my categories vary. It's like one day it's like 90s rap. Sometimes it's like kind of sad Lana Del Rey. And then you have like my old 80s like rock. Like that's like I have like kind of like 3 different genres that I go depending on my mood. So that's a hard one. I don't know if I could choose just one. It depends on my mood today.
Fair enough. I just kind of feel old when you said 80s old because I was born in the 80s. So I'm like, oh. But thanks so much, Haley. Best of luck at Sonoma.
Thank you.
All right, we need to move on because I graduated high school and college in the 80s. So it's time to move on. Let's go to Marty. Marty, you're up next.
Thanks, Dan. Haley, thanks for the time. So first off, I know it's not the start of the season that you've wanted so far this year. Any positives, though, that you've taken away from it?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I feel like me as a driver, I have improved. There's been a lot of stuff that this year we've gotten into, like little situations and stuff, or just like on track stuff to where you just get into someone else's mess that happens, or even down to like just little things happening. Like at Gateway, we had the generator overheat in qualifying, so we weren't able to cool down the truck, which means we couldn't tape off, which taping off in qualifying.
Stuart Friesen.
At somewhere like Gateway, talking to some of the other drivers who've been there a lot and crew chiefs in the truck series, that's worth like 6/10. So that affects my starting position. And then Ilmore was just pulling some of the data and stuff off all the trucks. And they noticed on our truck, something with the fuel pressure wasn't right. So they ended up changing the fuel cell. So instead of starting 26, which was already not great, we had to start at the rear. And so I feel like it's very hard to overcome a lot of those things happening. And it's just, I guess, luck. I don't really know what to say, but there's a lot of stuff that's out of my control right now that's happening. And it's hard as a young driver who it's only my second season in the truck series. I didn't get much practice last year, and there's only 20-30 minutes of practice usually at most of these tracks this year. It's hard to overcome a lot of that stuff when you're still trying to learn yourself and trying to take in as much information yourself. When you're starting at the rear, trying to just get to where you want to be and go from there and actually grow and develop and improve.
This is your first time racing a truck in your home state of California. What's that mean to you this weekend?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I've raced at Sonoma before in the K&N series. I've qualified on the pole there before, and it's fun. I mean, I kind of got used to when I raced on the West Coast in the K&N series. Driving on those tracks just had no grip, just none, because they're sitting in the sun for all those years and just lacks a lot of grip. And so that's kind of what I got used to. And I feel like that's why I was pretty decent at Sonoma when we went there for the first time. And then you kind of get the luxury once you start racing on the East Coast that these tracks have a lot more grip than they do on the West Coast. So I'm excited to go back though. I think I got some good notes from the years past of me going there. Obviously the trucks haven't been there since '98. So it's hard to go off notes from then, but I think that having that little bit of experience in the West series is going to help a lot. Just firing off in practice, knowing what you want out of the truck, knowing how it kind of should feel, and at least an idea of it, and knowing those kind of like markers on the track. So I'm excited. And I've been using the forward sim a lot and trying to get some more laps there. And Joey Han, who is a road course racer, has been helping me on the sim, just kind of perfecting and tweaking little things that, in his opinion, as a road course racer, could make me better on road courses.
And then one more thing for me, next week you got Knoxville. I know you're taking it one race at a time, but Knoxville, you've probably got more experience than anyone else does, considering the SRX race last year. Does that give you a lot of confidence coming in?
I love Knoxville. Knoxville is a really, really cool track to drive on, and racing the SRX series with it was really fun, really, really fun. It was crazy how comparable the SRX cars were to the truck. Just handling wise, like I feel like it was a lot of fun, and I feel like it translated pretty well. And I feel like when going back there, it's probably gonna be pretty crazy like how it was last year. But I think that with the experience we have there, we should be pretty good.
Thank you, Haley. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Brendan, go ahead. You're up.
So Haley, what's your favorite track on the schedule and why?
My favorite track. So I am a big fan of 1.5 miles. I feel like 1.5 mile racing, I just enjoy it. I feel like there's a lot of information I've learned over the last 1.5 years in the trucks. And I think that in the 1.5 mile stuff, I'm able to apply it a lot more just because it kind of slows down a little bit. You're kind of having a little bit more time to kind of decide what you're going to do. And I feel like it kind of opens my mind to be able to use all the things that I learned through the 1.5 years and apply them a little bit better. But 1.5 mile stuff is really fun for me. I think that Kansas, Vegas, those are kind of my favorite tracks. Gateway, obviously, I was really looking forward to for this year, but it didn't go as planned, but we got a decent finish away from it. But I had higher hopes for Gateway, and I think my truck was pretty good, that if we weren't in the situation even before the race that we were in, we probably could have got a better finish.
Okay, thank you, and good luck this weekend. And I will also see you at the SRX race in Stafford, Connecticut on
Sounds
July
good.
2nd.
All right, let's go on to David. David Hoffman, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Haley, for joining. So I know you mentioned the K&N car you raced at Sonoma before. How does the K&N car, do you feel like compared to like a truck on a road course?
I mean, I'll let you know after. I'm hoping it compares pretty good because I do have a lot of notes from back then of me asking other drivers like kind of what to do. So I have kind of their notes too, which is pretty nice. I've had the same laptop for like 6 years, so that's a plus. So I think that going back to Sonoma in the truck though, it's going to be a little bit different. Obviously the racing's probably going to be a lot harder. There's a lot deeper field of good competition, but I think that at least for me, it gives me an idea of what to do. It gives me a base to go off of. Obviously you could go a couple different directions with stuff. I feel like I have a good solid base from being there in the K&N race.
And I know it's your second full-time season in the trucks. How have you seen yourself grow just, the most, just both on and off the track through those first, couple of seasons?
Yeah, I think last year I was lacking a little confidence in myself. Just like when you go from running top 3, top 5 every single week in K&N, ARCA, that type stuff, and able to hop in dirt cars and do really good, and then all of a sudden you get in the truck series and you're like, man, like this just, I'm getting in wrecks every single weekend. Like, is my like reaction time just terrible? Like, what's going on? And I live a little bit, sometimes too much in the moment. And I feel like it kind of hurts me because I'm like, if there's a problem right now, I want to fix it right now. And that's not always the case when it comes to racing stock cars. It doesn't always work out like that. So I kind of had to get used to that, of kind of accepting what I was working with and making the best of it and trying to fix little things as we go and not try to fix everything right then in the moment. And so it's tough. I mean, it's very, very tough, but I think we're just trying to do the best we can right now and just kind of get as many good finishes as we can, staying out of all the wrecks happening, because I swear every single race in the truck series, only half the field finishes.
The final question, I know you'll be running a limited schedule in SRX. How enjoyable was that last year, being able to be around so many legendary drivers?
Oh, it was a great experience. Like, never would I have thought I'd be sitting at an autograph session with like Bill Elliott, like right next to him, talking to him the whole time. And it's crazy when you bring this older generation of racers, some that are retired now, some that still race, bring them together. And like, for me, I'm like, this is my best opportunity to get like the most information possible as a driver and learn the ropes of everything from people who have, first of all, made it to that level, been at that level for a long time, and are out of it now because they've been so successful. And so I think there's a lot of good advice and good tips you can learn from those type guys. And I'm excited to go back. It was a great experience. It was a really great experience. I don't think I could complain about one thing in the SRX series.
Well, thank you, Haley. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mitchell Brewer. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Haley, you mentioned it, but just how valuable is it being around those legendary drivers in SRX, and how much of that can you bring into the NASCAR Truck Series?
Yeah, I think that when you learn anything from drivers who have had a lot of success, that you can apply those really anywhere. I feel like I kind of have this like toolbox, and I'm trying to always add new tools to it. And I feel like you can take a lot of things away, whether you apply them in the truck series or dirt racing or SRX series, wherever you apply them as a driver. And it could just be literally like applying them in your life. I think that there's a lot of things you can take away from people who have experience.
And not to be a slam on the truck series or anything, but is a different experience racing with a bunch of guys that have a lot more experience and maybe aren't as aggressive, although there is some aggressiveness in SRX. Is that a little bit more refreshing than what you deal with on a weekly basis in the truck series?
For sure, 110%. I think that when you have these guys who have been racing for so long, and they've first of all have earned the respect, but they're respectful when they're racing around you because they know that you're young, and that's kind of, you're trying to learn from them. And so I really look at it as how they race me, I try to race people back with, but obviously I'm going to have a lot more respect, I feel like, just right from the get-go of those guys' experience.
Thank you, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
I'll take the last question, Haley, here, because Bob Pockris is on an airplane. So he asked if I could ask this question for him. Is at the start of the season, we've talked a little bit about SRX, but at the beginning of the season, there was some talk about maybe some Xfinity races on your part. Can you kind of update if that's still a possibility, or just kind of where things stand as far as that potential opportunity?
Yeah, it's tough trying to get funding midway through the season, or trying to figure things out for potential end of the year deals for at least me in these situations. So we're still working on it, trying to do what we can, but there's nothing we really have set in stone at all right now. It's all just kind of seeing what we could possibly do in the future. I wish I had answers because I want answers myself, but nothing's set yet.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here today for a little bit of time, and I know you'll be enjoying getting back out to California and the sun, and hopefully we have good results here this weekend on Saturday afternoon. So best of luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Haley. Thanks to all of you joining us here on our call. We will not be next week. We will not have a call next week since the Cup Series will be off, but we'll be back the following week. So everybody have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.